Hello, and welcome to another episode of On the Record with LMPD. I am your co-host, Officer Matt Sanders. I am joined with the Chief of the Louisville Metro Police Department, Chief Erica Shields. This is our 8th episode. I missed the last one. It was the River Patrol one. I hope you all out there got to see it. It was pretty cool. I'm sorry I missed that so bad, but it turned out so good. Did you like being on the boat, ma'am? What'd you think?
I loved it. I was so impressed with everything that they do. It just, on the surface, it just looks like, oh, they float around on a boat, right? But now the amount of work and the amount of training that they engage in, what an impressive group of folks.
A lot of people don't know what the River Patrol does. They
Right.
just see them. They see them out on the water. They have no clue what they're doing. So it was good to see, delve into what Chad and those guys do out there on a daily basis. I thought it was really neat. Funny side note, though. So the person that co-hosted with you, Officer Beth Roof, she's one of your PIOs for the police department.
Right.
She told me that she actually thought about throwing you in the water right after that was done. Can you believe she said that?
I think there's plenty of people that would join her in that.
I you know what? I would never do that. Maybe I'm co-signing a little bit. I don't know. I couldn't believe she said that.
Yeah, I get it.
But I'm going to throw her under the bus. That's what she said.
I'm good.
So
Thank you.
you can deal with that however you want. Today, we're going to it's just me and you. We don't have a guest today. That's fine.
Yep.
You're going to carry this thing, and it's going to be great. We're going to talk about the 4 C's. We're going to talk about crime. We're going to talk about the courts. We're going to talk about the community. And we're going to talk about this elusive contract that the city and the FOP are talking about right now.
I like it.
Okay, so let's start off with that. Give me some updates. Let's go with the crime first. What are we doing out there?
So, there is obviously so much work to be done, and we have a lot of work ahead of us. But what I will say is I am finally seeing some light. We have managed to slow the rate of the homicides.
Okay.
And our illegal gun seizures are up as well. There's 2 things that have really, really fostered some of the positive momentum for us. One is we started a violent crime detail, and we targeted 2 specific areas of the city that were seeing such a horrendous amount of homicides, and we've managed to reel that back in.
Okay.
So is it acceptable where we're at? No. But are we going in the right direction? Yes. That's been going on for 2 months,
Okay.
and I finally can see through the data some measurable improvements.
Okay, well, tell me what the data looks like. Just, I know you don't have it in front of you, but like the public wants, I want to know too, like how good of a job are we not doing or doing? You know,
what
talk
you
to
can
us.
see is in the divisions that we're running the violent crime detail, you are seeing a dramatic reduction in the rate of homicides
Okay.
and aggravated assaults. So is it where it needs to be? No. Are we satisfied? No. But what you have to measure your operations.
Yeah, to see if it's working.
Exactly.
What do we need to do?
Exactly.
Here?
And the data supports that what we are doing in these areas is working. And so that is really that's positive. And it's a testament also to, from the day we started it, the officers that came from across the city, because that's what we do. We pull from across the city because we want everyone a part of this, have done a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
I mean, they show up and they just work. You just barely end roll call and they're out.
We are starting to see some measurable positive change in the violent crime in the city of Louisville.
Yes.
The systems that you put in place are working. And we're seeing this in data. But for the record, on LMPD's podcast, you're not happy with where we are right now, the homicides that we have right now, the violent crime in general. But you're saying that the strategies that we've implemented are working, and that's measurable data.
That's correct. And I mean, I'm not satisfied. And I don't think anybody in this department is. You take pride in the work you do. And as long as there's shootings and there's homicides and there's crime, you're not happy. But are we seeing things improving? Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we are. And the work of the men and women of this department are the reason for these successes.
Awesome. Okay, so let's take it to the next level. Your CID unit or the proactive detail makes an arrest of a violent felony offender. The next thing is jail, and the next thing is court. How do you feel about court? It's been an issue. It's been talked about by prior chiefs. I know from an officer standpoint, it could be frustrating at times. Do you have an opinion on the judicial system in reference to these arrests?
Right. So, and I ran into something similar to this in Atlanta. And what I really, really need the constituents of Louisville Metro to do is to sit up and understand the system, the judicial system.
Right.
All too often, people think that if LMPD makes an arrest, then job well done and the problem is solved. And yet, that could not be further from the truth. Yes, we need to make an arrest. We need to do our job properly and effectively. But all too often, what we see is that those individuals who are committing violence are either given a abysmally low bond, no bond. They're put under house arrest. And so the reality of it is repeat violent offenders tend to get right back out and right back in the game. And in this jurisdiction, the greatest issue I'm seeing is with what's called the district courts. And it's very unfortunate because I don't think that, I don't know where the breakdown is. I don't think that there's judges that want violence in the communities, but at some level, you have to take pride in the work that you do, and just being a part of a broken system and saying, well, this is how it is unacceptable.
Okay, so, this fires me up a little bit. I'm going to have to dial it back when I'm talking about this because I get passionate about this. The media, our local media, has covered so many cases of our homicide unit makes a great homicide arrest. We allege that this person committed a murder, which is heinous in nature, obviously. And then the media reports that that person was placed on home incarceration. Sometimes those people reoffend. I mean, I wish you were a judge so I could ask you straight up, why? Like, what do you think it is? Are the jails overcrowded? Is it a COVID thing? Like, we need to get somebody in here to answer these questions because it is very frustrating to see alleged murders placed on HIP. Is it because of our work? Is it because of how the citation reads? Like, I'm sure it's case by case, but it's very frustrating for officers, and that sometimes they wonder why am I doing this if this person is just going to be let out?
So I think, first off, COVID's not an excuse because this issue's been going on for many years in cities across the United States. And so COVID's a cop-out. Very often there is some sort of, I mean, let's face it, the sheriffs run the jails, they work in the courtrooms of the judges. There's historically in any city, there is some level of communication on what the jail staffing is and the population. And no one wants their jail to exceed capacity because then you face potential federal consent decree, which is what we had in Atlanta. So I think that the jail population is certainly a consideration. But more than that, I think that what you're dealing with is there is no transparency required of any part of the judicial system other than the police. Everything we do, everything is almost real time, posted either on our website or you can get from body-worn camera video.
Yeah.
All the data. So we are continually being reviewed and scrutinized. And I'm not faulting that. I'm saying, fine, we work for the public. We have the ability to take away the freedom of people. Judge us. Weigh in on it. But so do the judges, so do the prosecutors, so do the defense attorneys, so do the jails. What level of transparency is required of these key partners of ours, most notably the judges? None. Judges are like doctors. They're not questioned. And at the end of the day, they're political positions. And so the problem is if you go and you talk to your neighbor and you say, what judges are you voting for? They either are going to vote for someone they went to high school with and they liked, or they're going to say the one who has the I by the name for incumbent. We should be doing report cards and showing, okay, how many cases a year is this judge hearing?
Yeah.
Are they hearing the cases, or are they requiring prosecutors and defense attorneys to plea bargain out? What is their sentencing? Are repeat violent offenders continually getting, $1,000, $5,000 bond in their courtroom? What are they doing? We had one recently that I can't even explain it. We had this person shot 2 women. He wasn't even aiming at them. Shot 2 women. We pursue them. He pulls the gun on us. We get him in custody. He's getting released. And thank God the ATF stepped up And the ATF exhausted themselves to get federal
Container,
charges on them.
yeah.
Yes. But we shouldn't be in the space that when we have people shooting our citizens, that we have to look to the federal government to keep these individuals in custody.
Okay, well, speak to your officers for a second, because when I rode the street not that long ago, I would make an arrest, and even if it was, I wouldn't say a violent felony, but if it was a misdemeanor arrest, I would see that person out of jail before I got off work. That happened to me. I'm telling you, that happened. I would see them walking. I work downtown, and I would see them walking back downtown, and they're like, "Hey, I got a sandwich at the jail," and I was like, "Dang, like you got arraigned and released all in the course of my shift." So speak to your officers for a second that are frustrated at seeing murderers getting put on HIP.
What I would say to you is a few things. I've had a very, very good relationship with Tom Wine from the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, and he's been very attentive to the department and ensuring that the cases are presented properly. And so I actually have a huge amount of confidence in the work that's being done there. I do think there is a problem, especially with the district court judges. We cannot allow the deficiencies and the shortcomings of part of the judiciary or the judicial system impact the work we do. We have to focus on what we can control.
Yeah.
We have an obligation. We haven't done a lot right?
Sure.
And that's been pointed out, and it's going to continue to be pointed out, and rightly so. When you fail, you have to, in a public position, have to accept the criticism. So we need to focus on what we are responsible for, and we need to do it well. Allow me, as your chief, to continue to speak out on your behalf on what needs addressing, because I'm going to, because I take pride in the work that I do, and I know the men and women who are doing the work take pride in what they're doing, and I have an obligation to ensure that the general public, the voting public, understands what limitations are on us insofar as the judicial system is concerned.
Okay.
And we need the community's engagement. But we at LMPD, we just need to keep focusing on doing the correct thing.
Okay, good. Say it loud and say it proud for us, and we'll appreciate that and continue to stay behind you. So let's move it to juveniles a little bit. So we're talking about crime. There is no secret that juveniles are leading crime in the city. What the hell happens to a juvenile when they're arrested in Louisville? Where do they go? What do we do with them? Is it a problem here? Donnie talked about this on the 4 episodes ago. Talk to it more. Detention facility issues.
So clearly, and let me just say this, the ability to navigate juveniles in the criminal justice system is an issue across the United States, because there's always that push-pull of, you don't want to incarcerate someone, especially a younger person, because you can see, if I incarcerate you at the age of 14 for murder, you know, or you for shooting someone, and I try you as an adult, this outcome of this individual is not going to be good. They're going to be a career criminal. So I think, so I understand the reasoning behind not just locking kids up, and I agree with that. The problem is, when you have 14-year-olds who are shooting people, it's equally unreasonable to think that if you just say, here, go back to home, go back to your neighborhood, go back to school, that outcome is going to be favorable. And that's kind of the space that we've been in. And so what's lacking and I would say from a state level, is let's help these kids navigate these years, give them positive feedback, give them structure, give them an environment in which there's some hope. You don't have a juvenile facility, any sort of facility, intake, rehabilitation, whatever you want to call it, in the Metro Jefferson area, which
Sure.
is astounding, given that this is the biggest city in the state.
So we had JCYC downtown, right across the street from here, and it shut down, and now we have essentially nowhere to take.
Well, so here's the problem. So you're an officer, and what's happening is, if the officers arrest a juvenile, they are literally out of service from 4 to 8 hours. That's preposterous.
Like, they're off the street, not
they're
taking
off
calls
the street.
for service.
And also, how is that reasonable to any? I mean, juveniles have rights too. You got to sit with me for 8 hours before the juvenile system can figure out what they're going to do. I mean, that makes no sense either. This is one of these things that, again, the people who are responsible for this process really need to step in and say, you know what, this isn't right. It's not working. Whatever brought us to this place, let's all work collectively to navigate out of it. And I do think, let me say this, I do think, and I've gotten positive feedback from some individuals in the state, that there definitely is an understanding that the current system is not working.
Okay,
and
good.
What can we do? So yeah, I don't feel
It's
like
not just us saying, hey,
No,
there's an
no,
issue
no.
here. There's some
No.
other people.
no. And I think that folks, I think that there's a, listen, no one wants to see, if you have a 14, 15, 16-year-old who is a part of a gang or a part of a group and there's shooting involved, the reality of it is, if you do nothing with that child and you put them back in the neighborhood, you're as good as marking their body bag. And there is that recognition that we are doing no service to these children by not having some alternative to what is before us now. And I think I do actually have hope that we can make inroads in the state.
So we've talked about crime. As long as this podcast exists, we will continue to talk about
Yes,
crime.
we will.
Obviously. Where we talked about the courts. That's our second C. But we'll take a little break for a second so you can tell me how you like my facial hair. What do you think about that?
I like it. I think
So I
it's
can't
doing
grow
good.
it on my head anymore. When I got back from Iraq in 2003, I was like still kind of a young adult. It just fell out and it doesn't grow back anymore. But I can grow it on my face a little bit. And you have changed the policy recently in reference to growing facial hair, have you not?
You know what? I was asked about it, and I don't listen. I obviously, when I came on the department for many years, it was very important that police have no facial hair, no tattoos, look a certain way, walk a certain way, talk a certain way. And I understand that, but I also say things change. And if you want a society and a police department that is truly reflective of the society that we serve, we at some point have to be open to the fact that things change. And you know what? At the end of the day, if one of my cops has a beard, that is not going to make or break whether or not they're a good officer.
Especially a majestic baby beard like what I got. Like,
Well,
it's
okay,
not going to
whatever.
make me a better cop or a worse cop. Like, it's just facial hair. My wife really thanks you because she likes it. I got a little
Good.
gray in there, but I got a couple kids, so that's understandable. So it is a nice change.
I-
Instead of doing just no shave November, we got to grow a little facial hair. So that's pretty cool.
You know what? Again, I go back to, and honestly, I will tell you, there was the defining moment for me was when I was a chief, or maybe I was a number two, and we had an individual in the police department. This is in Atlanta, and he was in this horrible car accident, and he died a few times on the table. The surgeon brought him back to
Oh,
life,
crap.
and the surgeon came out, and he had the scraggliest beard I had ever seen.
The surgeon.
The surgeon. And I thought, you know what? If this guy just saved this kid's life multiple times over, I'm not judging him because of his beard. And if he can have one, the cops can have one. I'm more concerned with how are we talking to people? How are we
Conducting
treating
ourselves.
people? Who are we? What's in here? That being said, don't get too carried away.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
There is restrictions. It has to
Good.
be neatly trimmed. I got to have a kit with me at all times in case I got to put a gas mask on, half inch, blah, blah, blah. So
All
it's
right.
not just go wild.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. So that leads us, kind of ties into the community. So that's our third C. We're going to
Good.
talk about the community. How are things out in the community? Are you
Yes.
you talking to the community? Are you meeting with them? Or are you
Love
just
it.
staying in your office all day?
Oh, no,
Be
no,
honest.
No. So listen, I cannot stand being in the office. One of the worst things about from about COVID has been things being on Zoom exclusively.
Yeah.
And so I have just loved that the world is opening back up and the ability to go to community meetings, community events. I love meeting people. It's the best part of my job. And so I am really appreciative to those community organizations that have allowed me to come speak to them, meet with them, hear them. Cannot do enough of it. And I really want to just say thank you to the greater Louisville community for welcoming me to their events. I appreciate it.
So you recently went to the town hall meeting and you met with the League of Women Voters. And
Yeah, it was fun.
what was their feedback? What did you think about that?
It was great. I think that folks it was very positive. And I think, again, it's almost, it's just a lot of it too is just needing the communication so that people understand why we're making some of the decisions we're making. Are we making decisions? Are we doing things?
Right.
But it's really solid, and I've really enjoyed it.
So you're actually seeing community members approach you asking, how the hell can we help as a community?
Yeah.
What are you saying to them back?
I get asked that a lot. I think that,
Proactive citizens out there, right?
It's across Louisville Metro. It's not just one part of town or another. There really is a desire to be engaged and involved. I think a couple of things. First off, I've touched on one. You need to know who your judges are, and you need to understand how the judicial system works.
Okay.
Because if you're not liking something that is occurring in your neighborhood or your community, you need to understand the full picture and why it's occurring. So that's one part. The other part that I cannot emphasize enough is please, 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 if you are a gun owner, make a commitment to be a responsible gun owner and secure your gun in a lockbox if you leave it in your vehicle.
Okay, that's fine, but you're just talking about the high crime area, right?
No, that's what everybody.
If I'm not in the high crime
No.
area, I'm safe.
Yeah.
If I'm in my driveway in a different part of the city, I'm good to go.
No, so actually the data never supports that in most of the time when you look at cities. So no, in fact for the higher crime areas of Louisville Metro have the least amount of guns stolen out of vehicles.
Really?
I'm fairly certain of that. So guns being stolen out of vehicles is across the board. And the problem is when they're stolen, that becomes an issue that you and I have to address, because now it's an illegal gun.
Right.
And so obviously if someone will be in possession of and leverage a legal gun, their intentions are not honorable. And so last year, I believe that data showed Louisville Metro had 300 guns stolen from vehicles across the city.
300 guns reported stolen from vehicles.
Reported. And so those are guns that become something that we have to contend with. So all I'm saying is invest the $60 in your lockbox. You can take it while you're in the driver's seat, put it in the back of the car, lock it up. Why is that relevant? Because usually when people break into a car, it's in and out. And if they can't get into the lockbox, which they're not going to be able to, it's one less stolen gun we have to contend with.
Yeah. So like when I was the PIO, we did like a 9 p.m. routine and tried to educate the public. And the data then showed that this happens all over Jefferson County. In fact, I love my producer. They just slipped me a note. We have 193 reported stolen firearms this fiscal year, or this year, 2021. And the 3rd Division, which is out like the Dixie Highway, PRP Valley Station, has the highest number at 43. This is reported stolen firearms from vehicles. There's a lot of cars in the 3rd Division off Dixie Highway. I'm sure everybody can attest. But it's so easy. And how many Ring doorbell cameras on the internet have we seen of just people walking in a neighborhood, trying a door, and it is only a matter of time before they're going to find that unlocked door. You may get lucky and they may take your phone charger and your change. But if you are an irresponsible gun owner and you leave your weapon not locked in a box in your unlocked car in your driveway, it is making everybody. That gun could shoot somebody you love, a cop, or it may cause us to have to shoot the person that stole the gun. Like, nothing comes good from leaving your car unlocked with a firearm in it. And if you're going to lock your vehicle, that may not be enough because it takes a second to break out a window. So lock it up in a lockbox when you're not in your car. So there are people that have to go to work every day and they can't take their firearm in their place of employment. It's forbidden. Mm-hmm. So they leave it in their car. The bad guys know this. I'm not giving no special secret. Cars have been broken into downtown since the 80s. Nothing's going to change. So we have to be better, responsible gun owners and lock our stuff up, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So the really quick, and then we're going to talk about the last C, which I can't wait to get to. So and the 2nd Division, which is the Louisville's West End, the Algonquin Parkway area is a little heat map here that we're going to put up that you're seeing right now on the screen. The 3rd Division, which is out Dixie Highway, PRP Valley Station, we're seeing a concentration there. Southern Parkway as well. The 6th Division, which is around Newburgh, Preston Highway, Papa Level area. So if you live in those areas, do some due diligence, be a good neighbor, lock your doors up. The 7th Division, which is like around Southern High School, kind of Hillview area. We're seeing a little heat map of reported guns stolen there. So if you're listening out there, lock your junk in your trunk. The 8th Division, the East End, right? That's Murphy Lane and Westport Road. So if you're in those areas, lock your junk in your trunk. Anything you want to say about that before we go to the last scene?
I think you've hit on it nicely.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm getting ready to look. I'm just gonna go right at you with this, okay? Because I talk to the rank and file daily, and we have a contract. That's the last C, contract. We have a contract between the FOP and the city of police. It's being or the city of Louisville. It's being negotiated right now. We have a tentative agreement that the FOP is going to bring to the members, and frankly, I need you to weigh in on it because you're the chief of police. You have very vocally said, I'm all about higher pay and yada, yada, yada. Where do you stand on this contract? Can you speak to it?
Yeah, so it's kind of frustrating to me because I feel like I want to speak at length about it and I want to go in detail on it. And more than anything, my plan was when it was handed over to the union Monday, I wanted to have some informational sessions at the Kentucky State Fairgrounds so the employees could hear from me directly, ask Q&A.
Okay, good.
But apparently, the way the contract is designed, the only party that can be having direct communication about the contract to the employees is the FOP. So,
so the FOP for our listeners is it's the union that I'm in. It's the River City Fraternal Order of Police. We just say FOP, so you all know FOP.
But I am the chief of police, and I should be answering your questions. I should be addressing your concerns. And so,
I would like to use you to address my concerns to people that I don't have the leverage to talk to, whether it be the mayor's office or city council or even the public.
Right.
Because there are concerns from officers in this contract.
I've heard
100%.
them.
And it's not the reforms. Like, you would be surprised. It's language, it's lawyer speak. And I want you to talk on my behalf about it. So talk to me about it.
So I think, the only way that I can have those sessions is if the union says, okay, chief, you can have these. We don't mind you talking directly to the rank and file about the contract. They've not acquiesced to that yet. And I think what concerns me is I'm hearing heartburn amongst the officers for those issues that are separate from pay, which tells me they're operational, which tells me they're policy, which tells me they're more of the governance level. That is what I have to be speaking to.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And I have fought for pay, and I will continue to fight for pay. And so that to me, I think for the pay piece that is in the contract, I think is very solid. And I would say and this might be this might be my financial background, but to me, money is a very personal matter, and everyone's situation, home life is different. But what concerns me is I would hope that any officer making a decision about this contract has consulted with some financial advisor to make sure that if they are walking away from the money that is on the table, they really can afford to walk away from that money, and that their financial health is not being driven by social media. You cannot manage your finances via social media. You have to understand your footing and where you're going to be 25 years out. And I'm just really concerned because if you make a decision that you don't like the financing in the contract and what's being offered, I will respect that.
Okay.
Financing, your personal finances are just that. They're personal. But you have to have sound financial advice. I don't know if they're getting that. I don't know. I mean, are there financial advisors being offered up to our employees? I'm not aware of it.
Well, I've seen comparative data provided by the FOP, and I'm not trying to be rich to being a cop. I knew for a fact when I joined this department I was not going to be a millionaire. I didn't do it for the money because there's not a lot of it. But I just want to be in the middle of the pack somewhere as far as like a nationwide average goes for my sister cities. Put me in the 50th percentile. I want to know. That's what I need to know. That's my question for you and the FOP and Metro Council and the mayor's office is, does this raise get me to the 50th percentile. Just put me in the middle, because right now I'm at the bottom. And I think you saying that on my behalf would speak volumes.
No, I don't
So
disagree.
you're saying that, the president of the FOP can give you permission because of how it's worded right now to talk about the contract. Because right now it's the ball's in his court.
Correct.
And if he gives you permission, you would be more willing to talk about it.
Oh, of course, because I have and I will continue to fight for the officers. I know how difficult the job is, and I've said all along, you will be held accountable. But in saying that, I will also say when you need to earn more money, and I do believe that the mayor and the administration have put forward a very solid offer for the. I do, and you can't. That doesn't mean my work is done. That doesn't mean that I won't be fighting for more next year and the year after.
Yeah, because guess what? We need recruits now.
So that's exactly. So I'm not saying no, it's job done, check that. But what concerns me is if the employees are not fully understanding or having explained to them properly what some of especially the stuff that's non-financial in the proposal, if they're not getting a clear understanding of that, and that drives their decision to vote it down, and then they leave money on the table, because that's what's going to be. It's going to be money left on the table, gone. To me, I have real heartburn over that, because I really think that when you because if you have financial stress, it's going to impact every part of your life.
Of your life, yeah.
Yes, and so that's why it's like I really want to make sure that the guys and gals really understand the financial implications of walking away from money being left on the table.
Well, maybe we should look into financial options for officers, like Financial Peace University type stuff, right? For the officers. I know I got a little bit of it when I was in the academy, but that was 11 years ago, 12 years ago.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so we're way past time. I'm sorry. I could take you down that contract road all day. Fact of the matter is, the membership, the LMPD officers are going to vote on this contract very soon, probably by the next time you and I meet, and we'll be able to talk about it a little bit more. We will, as long as you're good with it.
Oh, for sure.
And Ryan's good with it. That's all the time we have. We're going to start doing these bi-weekly, right?
Yes, sir.
So I can't wait to get into the contract and talk about the data driven with the violent crime stuff. And I'm wish I was on the boat. I would not have let Beth throw you in. If she tried to do that, I would have tased her, and this would have been taken care of. So just know that she's gunning for you, and I got your back, right?
Thank you, Matt.
That's cosign. Hey, you're listening to On the Record with LMPD. Make sure you like and subscribe on our YouTube channel so you're aware when we drop the podcast. This information directly affects you as a citizen in Jefferson County. So thanks for listening again. I'm Officer Matt Sanders, and that's On the Record with LMPD.
Thank you.